shame does not originate within you. Shame is external and it gets on you, and you choose to keep it around or not, really. Like,
yes. Hello. Welcome to Inner Archeology.
Inner Archeology.
Yay. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Emily, and
we gotta work on this.
Tuning in. It just gets more and more awkward. I keep expecting us to get better at the intros. I think
maybe that's just like our thing. It's like our shtick. We're just like real bad at it.
Maybe we should both just talk over each other the entire time.
Constantly. I mean, that would be like my childhood, so it'd be very comfortable for me. I don't know about you. Yeah, it took me like into my 20s to realize that it's like, it's kind of rude to interrupt people. I like did not know that, truly.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Because we just talk over each other. And if you don't talk over someone, then you don't speak. I've told you that story. Right. It's like one of my favorites. My little sister, when she was like 6, and she like stood on the table at a restaurant because we were having like a big family dinner, so it was like chaos. We're all just like chatting, and she was like, "You guys, I can't get a word in this family," and we were just like crying, laughing, and then we were like, "That's how you get a word in this family. You stand on your chair." And you demand.
Yeah.
And you scream in the restaurant.
That's so funny.
Anyway, so it's like that is like an actual practice for me, is to not interrupt people. It's very difficult.
It's a conscious thing
you're doing. It's not as hard as it once was, but it's still not my natural way of communicating.
Right. That's so
like, because I feel like I have the capacity for like 2 people to be talking at the same time. Like, I feel like you could be telling me a story while I'm telling you a story, and it would be fine.
It would be fine, and we'd be tracking. We probably would be, honestly.
I mean, it depends on the story, right? It's like when it's like really important and things like that, that's obviously like not okay. But when you're like bantering, it's like, anyway.
Yeah, I love that.
Tangent. Let's talk about being slutty.
So we like,
that's what we're talking about today, right?
We've had some people ask for us to like talk about like this whole idea of modesty, purity culture, slut shaming, dressing.
Excuse me while my eyes roll so hard into the back of my head that they get fucking stuck.
Don't get stuck there. Oh my gosh.
We both have such strong opinions about this, but anyway, keep going.
So much strong opinions.
You're doing a great job introducing this, and I'm so sorry I keep interrupting you.
It's on brand. You painted the picture.
Okay.
People are prepared.
I'm going to shut up now.
Yeah. So, and it's something that both of us have experienced, I think, in different capacities and some similar capacities. And very, very much a part of my upbringing, for sure. And I don't know, I've just been thinking a lot about how important it is to just feel good, like to just feel good in your body and that has a lot to do with like the clothes you put on your body and feeling like sensual. Like, it's really fucking important to feel sexy. Like, let's just say it. Like, that is to be like turned on by yourself and just feel like you're desirable. And I think it's like really important for just your mental well-being, your emotional well-being. And we are constantly wading through so much shame.
I really love how like overall where the world is kind of like going with this, because I think a lot of it really comes from, especially with women, this idea that like you need to cover up because men can't fucking control themselves.
Yes, boys will be
which
boys.
Is like absolute trash logic. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it makes me so angry. Like, no, have some self-control. And also, like, I think that what we've done is we've like hypersexualized the body. So it's like it's complicated, right? Because in one sense, like, yeah, feeling good in your body and feeling sexy and wanting to wear sexy clothes, but like sometimes like, wanting to wear something that is like comfortable because it's like fucking hot out. Or I don't know, I went to Bali and like basically stopped wearing bras until I got pregnant because I cannot not wear
Out
a
of
bra
control.
anymore. But I
They're
like didn't
out
wear a
of
bra.
control.
Yeah. Butter tits everywhere.
Butter tits.
And but like truly, like when I was in Bali and I was like, why, like I was like, bras are awful and I don't really want to wear them anymore. Like underwire, what a torture device. And because it was so hot in Bali, I basically wore like kind of like sports bra-y type tops, you know what I mean? Just like little tank tops instead of bras, and then like little loose shorts, and like they were all crop top, and that was like the only thing I could wear because it was so hot. So it's like there's also some like functionality to it, and there's also like sometimes depending on the weather, and then there's some part of it element of it that's like feeling good, and then there's other elements of it that are like it's just like people's bodies are not like for you like
For
like
anybody else
unless
other than that person. Yeah.
right. And it's just like where in the world did we think that like a woman's body is just like belongs to whoever the fuck wants it, like, and I think it's unfortunate because it's spilled over into so many like I don't know, just so many ways that like even breastfeeding. Like why are people offended by breastfeeding? That literally makes no sense to me. It is a woman like feeding a baby because we've over sexualized tits.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like
Right.
their literal purpose is to feed babies. Like we're the ones with our weird ass beliefs who made it freaky and sexual. It's our fault. And so therefore the solution is to check our own beliefs and like and challenge them. And so I don't know, this whole thing like it just like I want to like rage a little bit.
I know, I like it. I'm like, go do it. It's important. Like,
yeah.
and the reason the reason women's bodies specifically are so hypersexualized is that's a byproduct of like puritanical thinking, of purity culture, because purity culture says the body is sinful and you have to cover it up, and the body is shameful. And in that very act, and because sex is like this thing that's secretive and it's only appropriate in this very narrow like scope of life, therefore it has like hypersexualized the body, as opposed to just having bodies be normal, be bodies is what they are. They're not like good or bad,
They're
beautiful or ugly. They're just fucking bodies.
They're fucking
like,
awesome.
They're just
our
bodies.
body, do you think about what your body does on a day-to-day basis? It is incredible. Like it is a mind-blowing like work of art and science. And it is like there is literally no reason to be ashamed of it. And I was so angry.
I have had conversations with so many women who specifically experienced like deep trauma in this area when they went through puberty, because before puberty they experienced being a human and not being sexualized, and then they went through puberty and everything changed. They were treated differently,
and people were treated different. Yeah, I remember that. I remember all the attention all of a sudden from like adult men, and I was like, ew, what the fuck? This is gross. And that doesn't feel good.
No, and it's scary, and you're already confused and hormonal, and then nobody's like talking to you about what's happening. I was the first one out of all my sisters to like have boobs, and I was like, and it felt like all of a sudden, it felt like I blinked and then all of a sudden I had these like little boobs, you know, and I remember being so mortified because I would like go over, like there'd be a big family dinner at my grandma's house or whatever, and people would talk about my boobs. Like I remember like my aunts like pointing and talking to me about it.
Weird.
And
what is wrong with people?
And it was so traumatizing because it wasn't in like I know that they were probably just trying to be sweet and like connect to me, but like I remember just like mortified me. And then yeah, like what you were saying, I all of a sudden, and I'm like 15. I was one of those girls, I was like 14, 15, looked like I was 18 or 19. And so I was getting all sorts of like really inappropriate like attention from like college age like guys and stuff like that. And it was super uncomfortable. And I felt really unsafe. Like I just didn't feel like safe or okay, you know?
That's so sad because that's like, I mean, all of that just says that like, and I mean, I experienced it too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know. There just needs to be like, like our boys need to be taught better, like truly. Like, that's the only solution.
Taking
And it's like,
responsibility for
these boys are raised
yeah.
by women. Like, what is happening? Like, I don't know. I know that I'm having a boy. He's, I don't, it's funny. When we were at Catalina, I was like watching these like teenage boys and they were being like questionable and the way they were like treating these girls. And I just was like, I was like literally watching them and I was like, oh, fuck no. No son of mine. Like,
no son of mine.
that's what I keep saying to Ben. No son of mine. He's like, why do you keep saying them? They're your
It's
kids and
mine
not
too.
ours. I'm like, only when I'm like raging are they mine.
Right.
Only mine.
Yeah, there is this idea
like,
of like
what the
radical
fuck?
responsibility that men need to that mothers need to mothers and fathers need to teach their boys that they're responsible for their body and their choices, and they're responsible for how they treat women. And yeah, like this whole idea of like you were asking for it, like that whole conversation. I'm so glad that we as like a collective culture, I think, are like pushing way the fuck back against all this stuff. But like when I was a teenager, like when we were teenagers, like it was on me.
100%.
I mean, I got pulled aside so many times by like adults and like leaders in the church. Not so many times, but I remember getting pulled like to the side and being like reprimanded for wearing like spaghetti straps, like something like this.
Yeah.
And just like shamed for the clothes that I was choosing to wear. And
because
it was like,
yeah. And I know that I'm sure I don't think I've ever talked about this, but I feel like I know you've been in this situation. And I've talked about this with Ben a bunch too, because it's like something that I don't think a lot of like men are aware of, is because first of all, there just like weren't conversations around this. Not really. I think my parents did have conversations with me about making sure that if like somebody touched me inappropriately to like say something, which is important, but there wasn't like the depth of conversation around like, I don't know, but we've all been I feel like most women have been in situations with men where they're like getting a little aggressive or inappropriate. And the thing that you end up doing is like, you don't like to say no sometimes feels dangerous because of the world that we live in, because of the way that men, I guess, have been raised, or like the culture, society. I don't even know. I feel like I can't even like pinpoint on one thing. And actually, I'll never forget, there was this short story that was posted in the New Yorker, like, I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago, that went massively viral and blew up because it was a story of a woman who was on a date who then like went up to the guy's apartment, but then like after being in the apartment and like talking with him was like, I don't really like want to be here. But then, he took it as like she was like, complying or interested or whatever. And he kept like making more and more moves. And she kept trying to like back away. But she also was afraid that if she like rejected him too strongly, that he would get like violent. And so she kind of just like goes along with it, even though she's like pushing him away and saying like, no, okay, actually, I think I'm getting tired. And then I can't even remember the end of the story, but I think she like ends up like sleeping with him just to like be done as fast as possible, like with the situation. And people's just like responses kept like pouring in. Like, I so relate to this because there's so much fear around the anger of the guy getting like butthurt because they're being rejected. And I've had experiences like that where it's like the safer thing is to like, and I've told Ben this, and he is like, I mean, he's like horrified. He's just like, I didn't even know that's like a thing. And that's like so sad. And if we have girls, we're having conversations about that because that's like not okay. And I was like, it's a definite thing that like the fear of men and the behavior that they'll have. And it's not unjustified. Like, I've seen men get like,
it's there for a good reason. The number one like threat to women is men. Like, it's just like, that's the like number one threat, right? Like,
and it's just like, yeah.
There's this, you brought up this idea this idea of ownership over women's bodies, that women don't have a right to their own bodies. And that's like a really interesting concept that we're still dealing with like some major residual effects from, you know. And the thing is because it was quite literally like a transactional thing. Like women were essentially sold into marriages, you know, for like the political benefit or whatever, fill in the blanks. Like, so this whole like thing that like we do not have a right to our own bodies, and other people essentially own our bodies and have a right to our bodies.
It's reinforced everywhere, just with the
Yeah, and
overturning of Roe v. Wade.
it's there for
like,
a good reason.
ugh, it's so, and it's on both sides. Like women feel that in a big way, and then men feel it too, and then behave accordingly. Like they have some sort of entitlement. Obviously, we're speaking in generalizations, but I think I actually would love to chat about my like remember my like whole thing with the relationship with the word slut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, with like, because I remember like, because I think it's important to talk about like how do you push back on this, because I feel like you and I have both done a lot of work to push back on this, to wear whatever the fuck we want to wear, to know that is somebody gonna like whistle at you when they drive by. Unfortunately, yes, because that's the world we still live in. But like it's like a choice. Like, what do I want? Do I want to like change what I wear and how I behave and what I do for the sake of like everyone else? Like, or do I want to like be a part of the women that are like pushing back on all that bullshit? I see pole as a big part of that.
Yes.
You know, to be a part of like the movement that's like, this is not okay, and I'm gonna wear whatever the fuck I want, and like and I'm gonna tell you to shut the fuck up if you like say something inappropriate to me. I feel like I had to be like almost at the end of high school going into college. I really like I mean, I feel like all girls have, I mean most girls have had an experience where someone called them a slut, and it felt so bad. And so I was called a slut, and I remember it like devastated me. And then I had this whole thought process where I was just like, instead of wanting like, I really just one of my like core beliefs is that I am the one who has control over like what words have power over me. And so I basically like made a decision that I didn't want this word to have like negative power over me. And so I kind of like decided that I was going to like reclaim slut to be like a good thing. And I feel like, I mean, this is like what, 15 years ago. So now it's like kind of a thing. I feel like a lot of people have done it, and like slut can be like a fun, playful thing. You're like, oh, you slut. But for me back then it wasn't, and it was really painful. And so I just remember making this decision that like slut was like my, like it just was a good thing, and it meant somebody who was like sexually open and free and in charge of her body and doing what she wanted to do. And I just was like, and then I just like, I don't know, my boyfriend at the time, I was like, call me slut. And I like took the power away from the word and made it like a positive word in my mind to mean like an empowered woman who has control of her sexuality. And it was like a really important thing for me at the time. Yeah. So,
yeah. I love when you tell
I feel like
that
we can
story.
do that with so many words.
I mean, really, like what's your word? Like pick it, like, and then see what you could.
What's the word that triggers the fuck out of you, and how can you? Yeah. I just, I don't know, because I think that we also are living in a world where people are thinking that we need to like over politically correct everything a little bit, and it's like, and there's a fine line. Like I think it's important to be respectful of other people, 100%, 110%. But when somebody like uses a word incorrectly or isn't in the circle you're in and doesn't, you know what I mean? And it's like, you actually have so much power in making that word like not have a lot of like control over you. And I think that's an important thing to kind of just think about, especially with words like slut and whore. And because you can kind of like refuse to be slut shamed.
Yeah.
Like me.
Right.
I refuse.
Yes.
I just started pole dancing instead. I was like, oh yeah, you would call me a slut? I'm a pole dance now.
Oh, I love that. It is such a good, that man, I'm so grateful for that outlet. But yeah, it's kind of like understanding I don't know, like what are you not giving yourself permission to be or enjoy because like you're afraid of that shame, you know? It's like
Um,
people walk around with so much shame. It's like it's such a big thing to unpack, you know? And this is like I think like shame around your sexuality is such a root for so many people, you know? And not even being able to give themselves permission to dress sexy or to, you know, pursue what they want to pursue or enjoy pleasure in a way that they want to enjoy it because it's just not even an option like in their minds, you know?
hmm Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. That's why I feel like shame is such a good, we talk a lot about how uncomfortable feelings are like good clues and indicators of like something that needs your attention.
Yes.
And for me, like shame has always been like a good one to pay attention to because shame feels like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Put that on a t-shirt. And
Mm.
I yeah, I don't know. It's like I've just shame and guilt like really used to control me,
Mm.
actually. Like those were two primary motivators who that like influenced what I did and how I did it for like years of my life.
Mm.
And I just decided that I didn't want to like participate with them anymore because it was like when you behave from a place of shame or guilt, and like this case a lot of it is shame. I don't know, you just make yourself small. And it's just like, and what? For the sake of like all these other people that like are supposedly like thinking about you, at the end of the day, they're probably not giving you as much
Right.
like thought as you're
Mm-hmm.
probably assuming they are. And so you've just like curated your whole life and put yourself in some box for the comfort of others. It's like
Yeah.
we just like don't need to be doing that anymore. It's 2022.
Yeah, let go
Like,
of it. The thing about shame that is
mhm.
so interesting to me, and let me know if you think this is a true statement, that shame does not originate within you. Like it's not a
Mm-mm.
like authentic
I
part of
100%
anybody.
agree.
Shame is external and it gets on
Mhm.
you and you choose to keep it around or not, really. Like
Yes. I was just gonna say it's a belief that's usually like imparted on you,
yes.
and you get to decide if you want to keep the belief that creates shame for you. That's
Yes.
that's it. That's it. Like, does this belief like serve you? Is it making
Mhm.
your life better? Are you showing up as like a, I don't know.
And you can really trace it right back. Like if you spend some time, you could trace it right back and probably find the person who like said the sentence and put that piece of shame
Mhm.
on you, you know? I remember when I
Mhm.
was first kind of like having my like sexual revolution and doing a lot of exploring, I was workshopping shame because I was really like consciously aware of, because I did the whole like celibate Christian thing. Like I knew exactly how that felt to like play by the rules. Like I did it to the T.
Mhm.
I did all the things, okay? And so then I didn't really have a lot of like pre-existing shame because I was fucking celibate, like shame around my sexuality because there was like nothing
Mhm.
there. And so when
Mhm.
when I went like and started like exploring my sexuality, I was, and I'm grateful that I was like aware at the time of this whole idea of like shame around your sexuality. And so I was looking for it. I remember
Mhm.
I was like looking for it to like strike me from the sky for like a lightning bolt from God. I was like waiting for this shame to just like land on me and it never did. And I remember like having these experiences because what I was trying to tap into is I was wondering if it was like I was wondering if the shame was going to come from inside me. And every
Mm.
time I checked in with myself and I was like, did this feel good? And I was just like, yeah, that felt fucking great. And I was like, I don't have any shame around it because like my body felt good, my brain feels good. Like this was all consensual and this was all really fun. And I was like, I have no shame around this. Like I just don't.
Mhm.
And I was able to distinguish between like, okay, well, if like my youth pastor knew about this, he probably wouldn't like that. Or if so-and-so, like I could fill in the blanks of all the shame that other people would put on me if they knew what I was doing or whatever. But I was like, that's not mine. And I had this like really interesting experience of like, but it was because had this whole like delayed thing and I wasn't doing sexual exploration as a teenager like most people do. Right. And so I got to do this experiment
as
of
in
like
a
seeing
grown
the
up.
shame as a grown-up with like conscious awareness around these concepts, you know, but it doesn't come from inside you. It comes from outside of you, and you can trace it back and you can choose to let that shit go. And you'll have to practice it because you've probably internalized a
It
lot
comes
of it.
up.
It'll be a
Yeah.
practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because like, I remember making the conscious decision to like move through shame, but because it is like a conditioned response, I would have these experiences where I don't know, like literally like not even that crazy, but like, you know, have sex with someone and then experience shame after and have to like, you know, kind of just like talk myself through it. Like, that was fine. It's okay. No, like literally fine. It felt good in the moment. It was wonderful. I had a good time. They had a good time. Like, I don't know. So I do think I think for both of us, this has always been important to work through. And what makes me sad sometimes is I think that for some people, it just feels easier to not deal with it. And I think that's unfortunate because I think there's so much personal development and growth that can actually happen through sexual experiences. It's like, because it's like there's something that's just inherently vulnerable about it, and because of that, it kicks up things. Like it's just like it's like a really clear, it's like a really good mirror to like show you some stuff that you've got going on from your past. And so, yeah, I don't know. I wish more people prioritized it, and I wish more people thought of it as almost like a personal development tool. Because I think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, when you do it the way we do it, I have to always remind myself that not everybody engages with it that way.
Yeah.
Because some people, I'll like come across someone who like doesn't, and I'm like, oh, right. Some people are just horny and they're just like,
are just not
being disasters.
It's true.
And they're not like being conscious
people, like,
about it.
And I think some people just aren't really like, it's not so much about their experience in their body. Yeah. It's just kind of like, it's that's true. There's all of that for sure.
Gotta remember that. That one always checks me. I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah. It's such a thing. It just, man, does it like this idea of shame around your sexuality. It just like really, it's so limiting, and it holds you back from experiencing pleasure, like from truly just like experiencing your own pleasure in your own body. And I don't know. I think
it's giving your power away. It's just truly giving your power away. You're literally living your life according to some other person's ideals, and maybe they were once yours, but if you're listening to this and any of it's resonating, it might be. I feel like there's a good chance that like you have some beliefs that you'd like to push back on a little bit. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
Yes,
I feel like it was juicy.
I was pivoting a little bit, but that there's so much.
Pivot,
there's so much to talk about.
We can pivot.
You hate the word pivot?
Yeah, because it just like got so overused during the pandemic, and now it just makes me think of like
it did
quarantine.
People pivoted a lot. Oh
yes, it was like maybe it's like in the world of like business and entrepreneurship, because it was like the word that everyone used for like pivoting their business. Like,
that's so funny.
The pandemic, so we have to pivot. Okay, sorry. Sorry.
You got
no. What were we gonna say? Pivot. It's okay.
Pivot. We're pivoting.
It's good. I want to know.
Okay, it's like, how do I say it? It's the motivation behind like how you're showing up in your sexuality is this kind of idea that I want to talk about, because I feel like there's a lot of judgment because people make assumptions about what your motivation is. So let's just say you're like wearing some like sexy little dress.
Right.
Okay. People are going to make a lot of assumptions about why you're wearing that dress. And most people are like, you're wearing it because you want attention. And sometimes that's fucking true.
And
Like,
that's
there has
okay.
totally been times that I'm like, I just want attention and I'm going to wear
Yes.
something obnoxious, you know? And like, and that's okay. But there are other times it was just like, man, I was just like feeling really down and I just like wanted to dress up and feel like really good in my body. Or it was like, this outfit is actually really comfortable and yeah, you could see my nipples. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, you could kind of like see them poking through, whatever. And so, but there is this like, yeah, it's just this like judgment around like, oh, I know what your motivation is. I know what's going on in your brain and I'm going to judge you for it, you know?
Well, yeah, and I feel like more often than not, though, when people judge that, because it's like oftentimes, okay, I was at a work event this last weekend, and like at the little like welcome dinner thing, there were a bunch of women that were there that were like, they looked like fitness models, like just like big, fake tits, so fucking ripped, and they had the skimpiest little dresses on. And I think a younger version of me would have like felt judgy towards them. But I was like, you look fucking amazing. Would I wear that dress? No, not my style. You know, they got their like super high stilettos and stuff. But I'm at a point in my life where I see that what they're doing, like they're just feeling really good in their body. They work their ass off for that body. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can
They
tell
show it
they
off.
put a lot of fucking time and energy and effort into it. And if they want to wear the skimpy dress to be like, look at how hard I've like worked to make this body look fucking fire, like go girl. And I ended up like chatting with one of them. She was like so fucking fun. And we were like, I mean, at the end, I was like, we were like joking together. I was like, yes, and your titties are out and I love them. And she was like, thank you. Thank you so much. I was like, they look amazing. We're just like having a blast. And it felt so much better to be in that place in my life. Because honestly, it comes from me just like being more confident in life in general. Because me judging her like 10 years ago is because I was like, the judgment comes from me thinking, I feel like younger me, who may have judged her. I don't know that I would have actually, but there are plenty of other things I've judged people about. And I think that it would have come from just like, I mean, like ultimately what you're saying is that like, what, they should dress like you. And so everybody should just be like you. You know what I mean? And it's just like, doesn't leave space for the like,
right.
Like that's what you're saying. Like that's probably where my judgment would come from. Like, oh, this is too much, and instead you should look more like me. And like, how gross is that when you start to think about like what your judgment is really saying about someone? Is that you're not leaving space for all the like flavors of expression. And the thing that's like crazy to me about it is that, like, I think a lot of people who have judgments in this like particular area, especially women against women, consider themselves pretty open-minded. Like they'd be totally fine if it was like some gay man, like, you know, and like a very like flamboyant outfit, they'd be like, get it. But like a woman, like a very ultra feminine woman, like scantily dressed, like they might have judgments there. And it's just so funny to me how hypocritical we all are. Like we're just a bunch of fucking hypocrites. Like, and it's like, when you're judging someone for what they're wearing, you're literally saying that you think they should probably dress like you or some version of you. And it's like, do we really want a world that where everybody's dressed the fucking same? I don't. They looked amazing. They were fun to look at. I was like, look at all of you. You're fucking hot. Anyway,
it's such a good illustration of just how when somebody who maybe is like expressing themselves in that way and it makes you uncomfortable, like what you want to do is and the reason you're uncomfortable is because you have internalized shame around your body.
Oh, 100%.
And because you don't feel like you're allowed to give yourself permission to do that. You would never like be allowed to do that. Or if you did that, you would be so judged and so like criticized and you would never live it down.
Because you would be judged because you're the judgy person that you're afraid of. You're literally afraid of yourself.
Exactly. It's like, exactly. And so you want to put your internalized shame on that person to make you feel more comfortable because it's kicking up. It's just kicking up stuff. Like the whole idea of that kicking up like insecurity and stuff. It's just like where the question to ask is like, where are you not giving yourself permission to be seen? Essentially, like to just be seen and to be yourself in your body. And that like exactly like what you said, like it's such a thin place of vulnerability that you can easily do like so much good like inner work, you know?
And I just want to leave like a really like simple potential motivator for wanting to do this work. and push back on your judgments and like shame and stuff like that. It's just that on the other side, it's a lot more fucking fun. It was so much more fun chatting with that woman about her big, beautiful tits.
Right.
And just like having a ball and laughing than like standing across the room in the corner and like judging her for it. I had way more fun. And then like
Yes.
you can literally apply that to like anything else. Like it's just your life feels like lighter and honestly freer when you work to push back against these, and you just leave space for like not getting it. Like there have been people who have had outfits on where
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't fucking get it, but I know that like must make you feel good, and like that's all that I need. That's fine. That's enough for me. I don't need to like understand why you're wearing like a plastic parka with like 12-inch like platforms. You know what I mean? Like I'm like,
Right.
but I don't need to like, we don't need to like be the same. It's really okay.
Yeah.
All I need to do is like leave space for you and have fun and be lighthearted about it, because it's like everybody's just trying to find their place in the world and feel good in the world. And it's like, I don't have to understand everyone. I really don't. So
That's a good point to make. Like that's not like your job. Like you don't have to do that,
it doesn't have to
but
make
you
sense
also,
to you.
it doesn't have to do, you don't have to understand
You don't have to
something
get
to
it.
let it be permissible and let it be like okay for you, you know? And it's so true that the idea of this like giving yourself permission and others permission to just be and express themselves is so expansive. There's so much room for fun and pleasure, and shame and judgment is constrictive. There
It's
is no
small.
room. It's so
Yeah.
small. And we all know how that feels, and it feels terrible.
And
And so it's like
ultimately,
really,
you're hurting yourself more. Like really.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
like the two
Yeah.
scenarios is like me judging this woman and this like, you know, she like talking to that woman, she felt great. Like she she was in a good place mentally. If I were to have like lived in that space and just like judged her, I'm not hurting her. I'm not changing her. I'm not changing her mind. I'm not like changing her behavior. I'm not having any impact on anyone other than myself. And I'm just like drinking a cup of like toxicity by myself in my little judgy
Yes.
corner. Or
Yes.
I'm having a blast and being like, look at you, you fucking beautiful little fairy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love
We had
that.
so much fun.
Ugh.
We were like crying, laughing, and drinking Pellegrino out of champagne glasses because she doesn't drink alcohol. Because her body tells you she doesn't drink alcohol. Like she's like, nah,
right.
So we were like drinking Pellegrino out of champagne glasses and like clinking them together.
Oh, I
like,
love this so much.
It was so fun. She was great.
It's so
anyway,
good.
I love this conversation. We could rage about this for hours.
Yeah, it's a good one to talk about and to keep like unpacking and to like keep working on in like ourselves. And you know, like because there's so much. I won't get into it. Maybe we'll have like another
a
part of
2
this
or something.
Yeah, just because there it just keeps going and keeps going. It's such a deep rooted issue that we all deal with so much. But yeah, this was good.
Well, it's good. We've been doing these like little shorter ones, and it's nice because we're just really, actually, we should say it. We should just call it what we're doing. We're really trying to see like what really resonates with you guys. So if something resonates with you, like shoot us an email, send us a DM. We love hearing from you.
Yes.
Because we love when you're part of the conversation. This was actually a topic sent to us from someone, so we were glad to have it. So
yes, we do love hearing from you guys. And if you guys want more from us, you can head over to our Patreon and you could subscribe for just $5 a month. And there's a ton of content on there and a lot more
sexual stuff.
Yes, we joke that it's like our sex talk podcast 2.0 over there. So there's some good stuff over there. It's patreon.com/Inner Archeology.
And you can find us at innerarcheology.com. And now we're on YouTube at Inner Archeology, and also innerarcheology.tv for the video version. So
you can see our faces.
We're getting there.
We're doing it.
All right. I love you.
I love you. Bye.